Radio check, loud and clear. Thank you everyone for tuning in and welcome along to the coverage here in Zandvoort. It has just rained around about an hour ago in Zandvoort. The circuit is partially wet, partially dry. Currently, Formula One Academy is qualifying on track, and we will have free practice 3 starting in 30 minutes time. Hello everyone, and thank you for tuning in nice and early. Hello Shivanash and Robert and Mighty HQ and George as well. I really do appreciate everyone coming along so early. And, we've got a lot to talk about. We've done there's been some data analysis done overnight to see which teams are looking the quickest. Aston Martin were there top of the times. Fernando Alonso up there in second place. But it actually looks like the quicker car is the Mercedes in the hands of George Russell. He was 4/10 off the pace, but if you add together all of his theoretical best lap times, Russell wasn't too far off, and can really compete here against the McLarens. So George Russell, it could be Fernando Alonso, it could be Norris, it could be Piastri. I think those top four are in for the fight. Max Verstappen predicts that the top five is going to be a struggle to get into. Charles Leclerc said that yesterday's practice session was the worst of his entire season. So, not a great start for Ferrari, but they did make some progress in FP1. They were down in 14th and 15th, and they were up to 6th and 8th at the end of free practice 2. Thanks, Jamie McBride. Appreciate it. Why the turn's red? We've just got double yellows waving at the end of free practice 2 because I think they were just testing some stuff out. But yesterday was actually quite the eventful day. We had quite a few incidents, to be honest. We had Hamilton spin on the exit of turn number 2 going into 3, but did a perfect 360, managed to keep going. Yuki Tsunoda went deep into the gravel at turn number 11, but also managed to keep going and make his way out. Kimi Antonelli crashed at turn number 9 into the barriers and gravel trap he went, which was unfortunate for him in free practice 1. And then right at the end of free practice 1, Max Verstappen actually went into turn 1, locked the wheel into turn 1, and then straight off into the gravel. Albon did the exact same thing in free practice 2. Hamilton also had another issue at turn number 9 and did a spin in free practice 2. What else did we have going? Oh yeah, Isaac Hadjar lost power during the practice session, and Lance Stroll also, he crashed in free practice 2 at turn number 3. So quite a bit of chaos, to be honest, in Zandvoort yesterday. But overall, I think the drivers have a good feel for the circuit now. The engineers will have worked overnight to get a slightly more optimal setup to make the car a little bit more stable, especially for the drivers that were struggling. And we should be good to go for some. Well, I think we're going to have long runs actually at the start of free practice 3. Given that the circuit is slightly damp, it doesn't make much sense to be going out doing qualifying laps on a partially damp circuit. So I suspect they'll be doing some long runs, waiting for the track to dry up, and then towards the end of FP3, we'll get the quali sims as the drivers prepare for quali. Is it raining right now? Currently, no. It had rained about an hour ago, and then there's still water on the circuit. It's just not a huge amount. And it is rapidly drying up in certain places. If the sun's hitting that certain spot of the circuit, then it's drying up. If not, then it's still damp. Max isn't confident in the tractor. The car wasn't the most grippy yesterday for Max Verstappen, and neither for Yuki Tsunoda. Tsunoda was struggling quite a lot, actually. So they will, they'll probably just look to get the setup slightly worked out, because we know the Red Bull has got a very small operating window. If you can get it in the operating window, if Max Verstappen is driving it, he could compete with the McLarens. If you don't get it in the operating window, then, you're going to be in 8th and 9th position, and well, it's just not ideal, is it? Do you think Ferrari is cooked? Not really that much. They are a little bit further back than they would have hoped for, but I suspect that they will have made some changes overnight. Ferrari have a pretty good track record of making changes overnight, and those working positively on the next day. So I wouldn't count Ferrari out just this early. We'll wait for free practice 3 to happen at least. Right. F1 Gamer Surfshark VPN doesn't work in my country. Please help. Well, I can't really, don't know what the problem is, but the steps are you connect to the Austrian server, and once you've done that, you can search LRF and you can watch Formula One. But yeah, I haven't heard of anyone else having any of the sort of issues. Maybe I don't know, restart your computer or something. But all right. F1 Gamer, you said that you would give quali top 5 predictions in the summer break in the race stream. You would give quali top 5 predictions in the summer break. Oh, yeah, my top 5 predictions. So, well, for this quali, honestly, I'm going to be a little boring, but I think the current top 5 that we got in free practice 2 is going to be the top 5. Not in that exact order, but I think that's going to be the top 5 for the qualifying session today in Zandvoort as well. I do think Fernando Alonso is going to be up there. The Astons, if you looked into the data, yes, I think they had slightly lower fuel and their engine mode was probably one engine mode higher than everyone else, but their pace is not to be counted out. Fernando Alonso was still very, very quick, and this circuit is one of those technical ones like Suzuka, like Imola, where the driver can make a real big impact, and, well, Fernando Alonso is known for doing that, making a very big impact indeed. Okay. I truly like Ford, but I'm not trusting them to get up to speed for a few years in reliability. Well, the thing is, it's not Ford starting from scratch. Ford are taking over from Honda, and they've sort of hired Honda to help Ford for the first couple of years, and then Ford will take over, as if I remember correctly. Because I think it's Red Bull Ford powertrains. I don't think it's just Ford. And they're sort of collaborating with Honda, at least for the first couple of years, and then the Honda engineers will leave, and it'll just be down to the Ford mechanics, the Ford engineers, to get stuff sorted out. But yeah, they shouldn't be too far off the pace, considering they will have the help of Honda. All right. Most probable reasons for the crashes yesterday, free practice 1, like Kimi, Stroll, Hamilton, 360 spin. Well, quite a lot of them were, could have been caused by the wind. That was the thing that I was talking about yesterday quite a bit. The wind is 12 kilometers per hour at the end of FP2, but it's always fluctuating around Zandvoort. Zandvoort, if you don't know, it's right next to the beach, right next to the sea, and, if you've ever been near the ocean, it's very, very windy. So yeah, the wind plays a very big impact on the downforce levels of these cars, and that's why we saw those spins. Hamilton coming over turn 2, relatively slow corner, same thing for turn number 9, you're braking, you're slowing down, you're losing grip, and the wind affects you a lot more when you're at the slower speeds. So yeah, I think it was just slow speed incidents again for Tsunoda as he was slowing down and then went deep onto the brakes and locked up because he lost front grip. That might have been the wind, that might have just been a bump on the road, but regardless, those issues will have been worked out overnight. Yeah. Like they're racing after 1 month. Yeah, they do. These Formula 1 cars are very high-performance machines. You've got to be super precise, and, sometimes it takes an hour or two of practice to get back into the rhythm and flow of things. Free practice 1 and 2 were chaos. Indeed, they were. It was Plan C for chaos. That's exactly what it was. Loads of action for us. And, we'll be getting much more action in FP3 as well. We'll have a reasonable amount of quali sims in the second half of the session. In the first half, we should get drivers coming out, and, well, we'll see how they do on these slightly damp conditions, how they cope, how they fare. But it will actually be important to send the drivers out in these sort of damp conditions, because with more rain forecast for tomorrow, you can't just take that risk saying, oh, we're going to sit in the pit lane and we're not going to drive around, because tomorrow, if it does rain, the drivers are going to need the experience. They're going to need a little bit of knowledge of the circuit, and, well, what time practice is the best time to get the knowledge and the experience. Do you think Ferrari can win a race in 2025? Could they win a race in 2025? Let's see. Well, let's have a think. How many races left are there? There are 10 races. I think some things are going to have to go their way. Really, I think we've had more McLaren 1-2s than we've had podiums for Max Verstappen. If I remember correctly, or at least it's the same number. I think Max Verstappen has 5 podiums. Let's bring up the drivers' championship here. Yeah, Verstappen 5 podiums and 2 wins. But I think McLaren have actually had 5 1-2s this season. So the dominance that they have is incredible. So you're going to need either both McLarens to DNF or have a bad strategy or something go wrong with them for the Ferraris to get ahead. Yeah, but like we saw at Hungary, there is the potential opportunity for Ferrari to put together an outstanding performance. They're going to need everything to go millimeter perfect for them, but there is a chance. As is the Ferrari motto, delusion is the solution. Chance of breaking lap record in today's quali? Well, it depends how quickly the sun comes out, to be honest, because if the circuit is still damp going into qualifying, then I don't think we'll be breaking the lap record. But if the sun does come out, dry up the track a little bit, then we should... Yeah, we'll definitely be able to go for the lap record because the cars around about get 8 tenths or so quicker over the course of a season. And 2024 pole was 8 tenths slower than the lap record. So, that puts us on par with breaking the lap record this year. It's a question of conditions and a question of if the driver on pole position is going to hook together just a lap that is just good enough for pole or a totally special lap. Okay. Who do you think is going to crash today? I don't think anyone's really going to crash today because... they've had 3 practice sessions. So, if there was a sprint weekend and the drivers only had 1 hour of practice and it was slightly damp conditions, I'd expect, maybe a crash or so. But I think the fact that the drivers have had 3 practice sessions, a lot of time on the simulator in the summer break as well, they will be ready to go and shouldn't be making too many mistakes. And let's have a quick look at the Constructors' Championship while we're here. So the Constructors' Championship, we have got McLaren up there in first, 556 points, 24 podiums to their name, 11 wins. That is just mind-blowing, really. Really, really good performance from the McLarens this year. Totally unstoppable. Ferrari, they have got 5 podiums to name, all from Charles Leclerc. Lewis Hamilton not got a podium, unfortunately, with Ferrari, unless you count, of course, the sprint race win. But 260 points to their name, and they're ahead of Mercedes, who have got, in fact, more podiums and more wins than them. And the same thing for Red Bull. Red Bull have got have got the same number of podiums and more wins, but yet Ferrari is second place in the constructors. Why is that? Because they have 2 very consistent, very quick drivers. Hamilton's quali pace may not be there every single time, but his race pace, sometimes does make up for that. So when you're comparing to Red Bull and to Mercedes, you've got Russell and Verstappen as a form of number 1 drivers that are delivering and constantly giving out points. Antonelli and Tsunoda, not so much. And that's why, Ferrari are in second place despite having no wins this season. And then further down the Constructors' Championship, we have got Williams in 5th place, 70 points for them. Aston Martin with 52 points. Sauber with 51 after Nico Hülkenberg scored a podium in Silverstone. And then we've got RB with 45 and Haas with 35. So I would say they're all reasonably close to competing for the championship. Maybe not Haas, but Williams, Aston Martin, Sauber and RB. They're all very, very close. And, let's say Alonso gets a good result today and Williams are still down at the back of the pack where they were in FP2, then that could spell trouble for Williams, and Aston Martin could get that 5th place in the Constructors. Will McLaren be able to beat Red Bull's 23 record? Maybe they will. Maybe they will. Well, no, they won't, will they? Because Red Bull won 23 out of 24 races in a season, but so far we've got 2 wins from Red Bull already, and Mercedes have already got a win. So, no, they can't beat that record of 23 wins in a season. Yeah. All right. Maybe Alonso win. Oh, yeah, folks. The last time Alonso won a Formula One race, I think it was with Ferrari, and in free practice 2, the time that he won in that race, I think it was 2014 Ferrari at some point, in the free practice 2 session that weekend, he was sandwiched he was in second position, and he was sandwiched between the faster championship winning car that year, in first and third place. Oh no, it wasn't 2014, it was 2012 Ferrari. But regardless, the last time Alonso won the race, he came second in FP2, and lo and behold, Alonso is second in FP2 today. Who knows? 2013 Spain. Okay, apologies. Track already looks papaya orange. Yeah, it does actually. Hopefully that doesn't last too long. Hopefully we get Fernando Alonso and George Russell up in the mix of the battles. But if we look at the data, the people that have done the data analysis, that have had a look at which team is looking fastest and which team is looking slowest, it does look like McLaren is the fastest, which is to be expected, but the second fastest team actually seems to be Mercedes, and then you've got the the Red Bulls, and then you've got Ferraris, and then Aston Martin, according to the qualifying simulation pace. Now, of course, that doesn't line up with what we see on screen there, with Alonso in second place, but Alonso's top speed was very, very good, and he was gaining a lot of time on the straights, which sort of lends itself for us to believe that Aston Martin were running an ever so slightly higher engine mode than everyone else, because typically you don't see this big of a gap in straight line speed performance, whereas in the slow speed corners, Alonso wasn't that much slower than any of the other cars. So it's not a downforce thing, because in the high speed, the slow speed, the Aston Martins are around about the same as the Mercedes and stuff, but down the straights they do gain quite a bit of time, which lends itself to believe that they are running higher engine modes, which isn't the best news, but he's still up there competing in the top 5, I think. F1 Gamer, does Ferrari merch have water? No, I haven't made that design yet. I haven't made the must be the water design. But yeah, folks, I guess while we're waiting for the session to start, I can show you guys the merch. Where is it? Yeah, there's just a bunch of different t-shirt designs. I think some of them are quite nice, especially this. We've had quite a few sales of this George Russell one actually, and this Prince of Monaco one is very, very nice. It's sort of like a newspaper on the back of your t-shirt. Looks pretty cool. I'm wearing the shirt right now, and it's a good shirt. I don't really know how to sell t-shirts apart from they look nice, they look good. And there's a link in the description. It's slipstream.clothing is the website. Go ahead and check it out. My favourite team, it would be whichever team Seb Vettel is driving for, yet again, but why not go with Williams or Aston Martin? I don't know, one of those two. Alright. Sparkling Wars, F1 Gamer. This is my first time watching it live on television due to region restrictions. Is it as good as people talk about? It's Formula One's pretty good. I mean, this is a free practice session, so we're not going to get loads of racing and stuff like that, but Formula One is very, very exciting indeed, isn't it? All right. And just another thing, folks. Yeah, if you are watching, want to watch Formula One for a cheap price, and in your region it's really expensive or whatever, all you've got to do is get Surfshark VPN using the link in the description. Join an Austrian VPN server. Google ORF, and then you can watch Formula One for free. The only thing you have to pay for is Surfshark VPN, which is $2 a month. So go ahead and check that out if you're interested. And yeah. Okay. F1 Gamer. Aminash says, what is your prediction for Audi in 2026 World Constructors Championship? Because Sauber is improving in this year itself. Yeah, it is actually. And I think Sauber will be up there, but I don't think they're going to be a championship winning team. They're obviously the extra help that they're going to have from the Audi engineers will, go a long way. But there comes the flip side of these Audi engineers haven't worked in Formula One before. There's going to be a lot of new stuff for them to work out before they can hit the ground running. So maybe I would say 6th position for Audi, 6th or 5th position maybe. Nice merch, but how do I get it in India? Unfortunately, I haven't managed to figure out shipping to India, because I think there's some import taxes, or I think it is import taxes and customs fees and stuff, which makes the price of the t-shirt double, which is obviously not very helpful. So, yeah, looking to sort of get that sorted out, hopefully. But as of right now, it is not shipping to India. Okay. Also, folks, if you don't hit the like button, be sure to do so. It really does help out the channel and the algorithm once people do hit the like button before the stream starts, before the session starts. Gets the channel back into the YouTube algorithm sites as we get underway for the second half of the season. We're 17 subscribers away from 189k, which is fantastic. So if you haven't hit the subscribe button, be sure to do that as well. Qualifying is in 3 hours and 40 minutes. Free practice 3 is in 9 minutes and 40 seconds. And also, folks, I will be doing a face reveal at 200k, as it says there at the top right of the screen. So, yeah, be sure to subscribe if you guys are interested. Okay. F1 gamers, everyone good to race in FP3 after multiple incidents in practice? Yes, everyone's good. Over the summer break, they will have worked out how to get all of these spare parts and stuff. Well, they bring all of these spare parts to the European races. They never have any sort of issues with that. So they will have taken a while to repair Stroll's car, but he is good to go, and he'll be taking part today. Who's the Cadillac number 2 driver? Well, I don't know. It's could be Sergio Perez, it could be Valtteri Bottas, but the thing is, if you're not competing for race wins and podiums, you never really have a number 1 or a number 2 driver, especially if they're on similar levels of like experience. Like, for example, Carlos Sainz and Alex Albon. There's no clear number 1, number 2. Yes, Albon has scored more points than Sainz this season, but if Sainz is ahead during qualifying and during the race, Sainz will get priority. If Albon is ahead during the race or qualifying, he'll get priority. So it's if you're not competing for the race win, there's no sort of number 1, number 2 thing, and the drivers will just be looking to get the car up to the top of the pack when they will be fighting for race wins and podiums, and then they'll decide at that point who's going to be the number 1. Chances of a Leclerc pole, well, considering that he was a second off the pace yesterday, they're not so high, but Ferrari will have done some work overnight to get some things sorted. And hopefully bring them closer to competitiveness. Right, how many minutes away? Yeah, alright, we've got the free practice 3 data up and running, and look at this, wind speeds 15 kilometers per hour here, ladies and gentlemen, 15 kilometers per hour. It's just dipped down, but this is the thing, it keeps fluctuating here in Zandvoort, goes up, goes down, massively affecting downforce levels, massively affecting grip levels, and because of that, the drivers have to be super duper wary of these conditions. F1 Gamer, did Oscar get a penalty for the pit lane incident? No, as I predicted, the McLaren team got a €5,000 fine, and apart from that, nothing else happened. It was just a mistake, really, from Oscar's side, I think. He just turned in too early and then had to go around some of the mechanics, but yeah, all good. No penalty, McLaren fined €5,000, and the stewards will be eating some fancy dinners then, I think. What do you think about Aston Martin this weekend? Well, I think Aston Martin are going to be up there. I think they're going to be up in the top 5. At least Fernando Alonso is. It was because the mechanics directed him. Okay, well, yeah, it may have been the mechanics' fault, may have been Piastri's fault, I don't know, but yeah, regardless, Piastri didn't get any grid penalty, so it doesn't matter. Okay, yeah, track temperature is down at 19.5 degrees. It's the coldest it's been all weekend long, so that is going to lend itself to the soft tyres working quite well, actually. But of course, the circuit is also partially damp. So once that circuit is dried up a little bit as well, that should help things come along. Risk of rain for the free practice session is 20%, and the risk of rain for qualifying, I think, does go down a little bit because, yeah, it had already rained a little bit earlier on. But for the race tomorrow, it's also a little bit unpredictable. With Zandvoort being near the sea, the weather is a little bit harder to predict. But if we look at the weather forecast for tomorrow, and at the race start time, there it says a 20% chance of rain, but it says a 20% chance of rain all day long before the start of the race as well. So, we could start with a damp circuit. It's really up in the air. Alrighty then. What else have we got going on? Not all that much, to be honest. Not all that much. We're still 4 minutes away from the start of the session, and we'll be getting the drivers out onto the circuit quite early on, to be honest, because they'll be looking to get some running in these sort of damp conditions, so they know what to expect if it does start raining tomorrow for the race. Okie dokes. Yeah. Folks, if you have any questions, anything you want to ask me, then be sure to let me know. I'll be doing my best to answer all of the questions in the chat while we haven't got much going on. As the wind affected practice, will it affect tomorrow's race? Yeah, the wind isn't really going to disappear overnight, so yeah, it will definitely be affecting the race tomorrow. Do you think Max will fight for the pole or the win? Well, I predicted at the start of FP1 that Max would be fighting for the pole position, and I still sort of stand by that because, his pace for the race really wasn't that good in the simulations yesterday. However, we know that he can just totally sacrifice the entire race and go for a qualifying setup today, and if he does do that with a quali setup, he's just going to, do very, very well in qualifying, potentially get pole position, and then create the Max Verstappen train for 72 laps of the Dutch Grand Prix and keep everyone behind him because he knows how to defend. It's pretty difficult to overtake around this circuit nonetheless, and if he uses his overtake button properly, then Lando Norris will not be getting past him anytime soon. So, yeah, there's always a chance for Verstappen to defend for the entire race, and he might try that because that might just be his best shot. Why does Lewis keep spinning? It's 3 times in his career now. I don't know. It's clearly just not enough confidence in the car. But the other thing is that it could have genuinely be the wind conditions because so as I was saying, really, right. So the wind blows from the southwesterly direction. So it blows from this side up across this part. So Hamilton was going through turn number 2 here, right, and going through here, he has a headwind. And the thing is, though, let's say the wind just drops out, right? So he's got 15 kilometers per hour wind, and suddenly it just stops for about 10 seconds, and then it starts going again. But in those 10 seconds, Hamilton goes over the crest of turn number 2. Then that sudden loss of grip from it going from 15 kilometers per hour to 0 kilometers per hour really does unsettle the car, especially because as you're going over turn number 2, in fact, let me get up the onboard of the lap. Where's the onboard? Here we go. Yeah, so when you're going through turn number 2 on your flying lap here, so this is turn number 1 here. You make your way through turn number 1, and then you're slowly getting onto the power. You're in 3rd gear. You're up to, 150 kilometers per hour, 130 as you tap the brakes and flick the car in for turn number 2. But the car goes super duper light, and you can see that even I, on the simulator, lose a little bit of the rear end because the car just goes light over this crest. So combined with the car going light over the crest, the loss of downforce because of the wind stopping, and then Hamilton not being comfortable with the car could easily spin out. Now, that of course could be also attributed to just a mistake from Hamilton's side. He applied too much throttle, he spun out, but it could also be down to the wind, and we're never really going to know because we don't have the telemetry to see what Hamilton was doing. But yeah, I'll continue on with the lap here while we're 1 minute away from the start of the session. Let me just zoom it down a little bit, and there we go. All right. So you make your way. Yeah, the circuit has been declared wet, by the way, folks. The circuit has been declared wet here in Zandvoort, and well, that's to be expected because it is wet. There's quite a bit of wet patches spotted around the circuit. Not too much rain as of right now, but there are wet patches. All right, so let's go for the flying lap from the start. So you come across the start-finish line, you're up into 8th gear, DRS open, braking at around 80 meters here, braking super deep into the corner, trail braking in, carrying as much speed as you can, then early onto the power, over the crest of turns number 2, and you try to keep the car under control, take the widest possible line on the exit turn number 3, because you can carry a whole lot of speed that way. Then 4, 5, and 6 are all little kinks in the road, and they're not really much to scoff at. Maybe in wet conditions it's a bit harder, but in dry conditions they're totally flat. Turn number 7 is very, very hard. A little tap of the brakes and flick the car in. Same for 8. Now 9. This is where Antonelli actually locked up. He was braking and steering at the same time, locked the brakes off into the barriers that he went. Hamilton also spun on the exit at turn number 9. It's a very tricky corner. You've got braking, steering, and then suddenly you start accelerating as well. The tyre and the rubber gets stretched in all of the directions, and yeah, just isn't that great at providing grip. Then into turn number 11, you just want to get a good entry into 12. You sort of compromise turn number 11 on the exit to get a good entry into 12, and then turn 13 and 14, huge banking, hug the inside line, find the line with the minimum bumps, and then come across the line, and that is a lap of the Dutch Grand Prix, folks. Yeah, and FP3 has begun. As you can see at the bottom left there, the timer is ticking down, but all of the drivers still in the garage as of right now. We are getting, I think Lando Norris has just got into the car, so we'll be getting underway very, very shortly for some running. But as of right now, the drivers still in the garages, about to leave. He caught the grass on, he did, actually on the second spin. Hamilton caught a whole bunch of understeer, and then got onto the grass with his rear tyres, which caused the spin. Okay. Why was Leclerc so bad yesterday? Because the Ferrari was so bad yesterday. I can't really give you an accurate explanation for that one. Leclerc said it was the worst practice of the entire season so far, so maybe that gives you a little bit of insight into what was going on. Hello, C. Paul. Nice to see you back, buddy. Yeah, we are back. It's good to be back, really, after the summer break and have something to do, because, yeah, over the weekends I was getting pretty bored. It must be the car, really, for Charles Leclerc. How's the weather for qualifying? It looks to be dry for qualifying, so the circuit's still damp as of right now. But for qualifying, if the sun comes out, we'll get the circuit drying up. If the sun doesn't come out, we'll still have the same damp conditions. It doesn't look like any more rain is actually going to fall on the circuit. Why is nobody out on track? It is because the circuit's wet and the drivers don't want to go out on a wet track, at least not to start with. But they're all playing a game of catch-22, because the thing is, they all want a dry circuit, but none of them want to go out to actually dry the circuit themselves. So someone's going to have to go out, someone's going to have to bite the bullet. We'll be the first one to go out, and then the rest of them will slowly follow each of them out single file. And there we go, Isaac Hadjar, first driver, out onto the circuit. Good to see from Hadjar, and we'll get some running very, very shortly. And yeah, Alonso getting into the car, Norris will be coming out soon as well. So not long till we get going. And intermediate tyres actually for Hadjar. They're playing it very, very safe here. The circuit really isn't all that wet, but they're taking the intermediate tyres because, as a safety precaution, really, you don't want to go out on slicks, work out that you've got no grip, and then potentially crash the car a couple of hours before quali. So they're just sending Hadjar out on some inters. But I'm sure they'll quickly find out that the intermediate tyres are overheating very, very quickly. Could it rain a lot for the in the race for the wet tires to be used finally? Well, it could rain a lot, but the thing is, the wet tires don't get used because even in the intermediate tires, the visibility is so bad that the drivers can't see, and yeah, that's the reason why we don't use the wet tires, because even in intermediate conditions, the visibility gets so bad the drivers can't see ahead of them, and then there's no point putting on wet tires because you can't see ahead of yourself. But yeah, we definitely could have intermediate conditions because the rain is predicted to fall sort of all morning in Zandvoort. There's a 25% chance that it falls at 10 o'clock, 25% chance it falls at 11 o'clock, 25% chance it falls at 12 o'clock. So essentially, it could rain at any point before the race. It could also rain during the race, but the forecast is still a little bit up in the air. It's a low downforce track, right? So it's good for Aston Martin. No, actually, it's a high downforce track, but high downforce tracks are good for Aston Martin. You know, same thing for Hungary. Very high downforce circuit. Aston Martin suddenly had a bunch of pace. So yeah, that is, the Astons excel at sort of high downforce tracks, and then we have the Williams excelling at low downforce circuits. Hadjar comes over the radio, says the track is very green, and by that he means it's very slippery. Not a lot of grip is out there deposited on the rubber, deposited on the circuit, and Antonelli now is out on out on medium tyres. So he is going to be exploring the conditions on the mediums, and he'll see how it goes. But yeah, the medium tyres are probably the correct choice, maybe even the softs, because the softs will warm up a lot quicker than the mediums in these sort of damp conditions, but they don't want to be using the soft tyres because in qualifying, they're going to need them. And potentially even for the race, if there's a safety car restart, if the rain stops with, let's say 15 laps left to go, the soft tyres are a good choice to get to the end. So that's why the teams are saving their set of softs and they're going out on some mediums as of right now. Okay. I'm going to have a quick sip of water. Give me a second, folks. But yes, Antonelli currently just lapping around the circuit, not pushing all that hard because, well, he knows that there's no point. All right. Yeah. Hulkenberg also out onto the circuit. He's out on hard tyres. And yeah. Feels good to watch F1 again. Indeed it does. Indeed it does. Yeah. Hello. We've got sparkling water in the chat. Thank you. Hello. Thank you for tuning in, and thanks everyone. Actually, let's read some names out. Thanks, Dom, Robert, Debbie, Rock18, Mohit. Thank you all for tuning in. Is it raining? No, folks. It is not raining right now. The circuit, however, is wet. So it is wet, it is damp, it hasn't got a lot of grip on it because all of the rubber that was deposited overnight yesterday has been washed off. So yeah, we're starting from square one essentially. The rain overnight has, well, not even overnight. The rain that fell this morning has cleared up the circuit, and because of that, we are back to low grip levels. And that means also we're going to have a lot of track evolution in qualifying, because typically, you have free practice 1, 2, 3, and then those 3 sessions worth of rubber deposited onto the circuit, and then by the time you reach quali, the circuit isn't getting that much quicker. But the rubber that was deposited in free practice 1 and in free practice 2 has all been washed away. So now for free practice 3, we're going to have the rubber that gets deposited in this session, and then for quali as well. So quite a bit of track evolution for quali. We'll have to keep our eyes peeled for that. And the drivers right at the end of the quali sessions will be having the most optimal conditions for their lap. Should we be expecting a 1 or a 2-stop strategy? Well, it depends on the weather, but the other thing is, here in Zandvoort, Pirelli have brought a step softer compounds compared to what they did last year. And the other thing that they have done is they have increased the pit lane speed limit. So previously it was 60 kilometers per hour because it was quite a small, narrow pit lane, but the FIA have deemed it safe enough to use 80 kilometers per hour. So now when they're driving through the pits, they're going to be less time driving in the pit lane, obviously, because they're going to be going faster in the pit lane, which means less time needed for pit stops, which also helps pulling off a 2-stop strategy. So I think a 2-stop strategy could be possible, but then again, it is very difficult to overtake around this circuit. So who knows? All right. Also, folks, while we haven't got much running going on, we've got some drivers out on Inter, some drivers out on hards. Got a little trivia question for you here. Which race and which driver has, so that we've got a race winner that has won a race with the most pit stops. So how many pit stops did this driver take? Which race was it at, and which driver was it? that is the trivia question for you guys. The race winner with the most pit stops to his name in a single Grand Prix, and also going on to obviously win the race. Well, we've got two different answers here in the chat. Some people are saying Jenson Button, some people are saying Max Verstappen, and it was Max Verstappen actually. Jenson Button did have that record previously. He had 6 pit stops in the 2011 Canadian Grand Prix, but Max Verstappen actually had 7 pit stops in the 2023 Dutch Grand Prix. 2023 Dutch Grand Prix has the record for the most F1 overtakes, and Max Verstappen did the most pit stops to go on and win that race. So. Yeah, 7 pit stops and still won the race. And that race actually has the most overtakes in F1 history. It's got 186 on-track overtakes, which is the record for the highest number of overtakes in a single Grand Prix. Alrighty. Yes, 7 pit stops. That is, there are 72 laps of racing around here in Zandvoort, so that must be a pit stop every 10 laps. Like, the Red Bull pit crew got a lot of practice in that day. Yeah. And the drivers that are out on the intermediate tyres, they went straight back into the pits. They know that the intermediate tyres isn't the choice for the conditions as of right now. It is definitely the slick tyres, and we've got Colapinto improving, Hulkenberg improving, and Antonelli as well. Okay. Alrighty then. 186 is wild. Indeed, it is 186 overtakes. So that means with 72 laps, that's an overtake, at least 2 overtakes every single lap, which is mega. Yeah, 2 overtakes every single lap, and those are on-track overtakes. It's not like it's an overtake in the pit lane or anything like that. It is on-track overtakes, which is pretty cool. Is the radio working? I'm going to give it a quick refresh, see if it works. But yeah, it hasn't had the best track record, to be honest. Yeah, we'll see if the radios decide to work a little bit later on. But as of right now, no radio messages have come through, unfortunately. Do you think Colapinto will get points this season? Yeah, I think he could probably score some points if he gets a bit lucky. But the Alpine's race pace really isn't that good. You know, Gasly's been making it through quite consistently into Q3, but then hasn't actually been able to convert that into many points because the Alpine just has absolutely terrible race pace. Yeah, not ideal really, but such is life for the Alpine drivers. Yeah, folks, the radios aren't working for anyone, actually. The data's just down, so that is a bit unfortunate. All right, we got Bortoletto top of the times. Colapinto is in second place. Hulkenberg third. Antonelli is fourth. F1 Gamer, I was just wondering if you'll be doing a separate stream for your face reveal, or you'll just pop the cam on once you hit 200k. No, I'll probably just pop on a webcam once we hit 200k. Yeah. I don't know if I'm going to keep on the webcam for every single stream, but I think at least for the stream where I hit 200k, I will I'll have a webcam on, and maybe the rest of that Grand Prix weekend as well. But I don't know. I guess we'll see. All right. Yeah, Hulkenberg is up there in first position, purple in the second and third sectors. The mini sectors are they bugged? Yeah, there actually seems to be some sort of glitches going on. It is what it is. The FIA can't manage to get the track map working in FP1. They can't manage to get the mini sectors working now. They can't get the radio to work. Classic. All right. Yeah, Gabriel Bortoletto, purple in the first sector. Both the Kick Sauber drivers improving quite nicely, actually, in these wet conditions. well, they're not really wet now. The sun has now come out and the circuit is rapidly drying, so I wouldn't really call this wet anymore. It won't be long. The DRS is still enabled as well, so it's more than fine for the drivers to use DRS, so the grip levels are reasonably high. The lap times we're seeing are 1 minute 12s yesterday. I think in FP1 we saw 1 minute 10s. So we're at 2.5 seconds off that pace. Partially due to rubber, the track not being rubbered in, and partially just due to the fact that the circuit's a little cold and the drivers aren't pushing all that hard. Wet quali, unfortunately not, folks. The rain that was going to fall today has already fallen and is already looking to sort of dry up. So, yeah, unfortunate, but I think that's just the way things are going to be. We're going to have a dry quali. Was there rain earlier? Indeed, there was. Yeah, there's still a lot of drivers in the pits. Nobody is even 6 drivers that haven't even left the pit lane, and the other half have done 1 lap and declared it pointless to do running, so they're all just in the pits. But I think it's good that Antonelli and Bortoleto are out there. Antonelli, Bortoleto, and Colapinto, all 3 of them really. It's pretty handy for them to, well, firstly drive around in low grip conditions, but then also drive around in conditions where the grip levels are constantly changing. Because the sun has now come out and the circuit's rapidly drying up, the grip levels really are changing lap after lap, and you can push a little bit harder, brake a little bit later, and that's another skill that the rookies often don't get too much practice in, because they'll do dry running, they'll do wet running, but very often these changeable conditions is where the drivers make mistakes. When it's suddenly going from wet to dry or dry to wet, drivers can either lose a lot of lap time or just make big mistakes. So sending the rookies out in these conditions, I think, is a good idea, and maybe Behrman should be out as well, and Isaac Hadjar. Currently, they're all sat in the pits. Well, the majority of them, at least. Nico Hulkenberg, we've just got a replay here, and a bit of traffic in his way. That was Franco Colapinto that blocked him basically directly in front of where he should have been. I don't know if Colapinto didn't get a message over the radio or what happened, but yeah, not ideal, and we're going to have quite a few of these issues in FP1 as well. Oh, sorry, not FP1, in Q1, because all 20 cars are going to be out on the circuit. Next year with 22 cars on the grid, it's going to be even worse. But at these short circuits where it's around 4.3 kilometers, the traffic situation in qualifying is quite hectic. Here we go, Stroll's out onto the track. Out on a set of soft tyres as well. Track temperature 21 degrees, wind is 15 kilometers per hour, now blowing purely just from the southern direction. And yeah, air temp stays at 20 degrees, so track's slightly warming up, but this is sort of optimal conditions for the soft tyres. You can push as hard as you want now with track temperatures at 21 degrees, and you're not going to have any sort of overheating problems. So yeah, pretty good there for Stroll. Let's see what he can do and how much quicker than Bortoleto he can go. How many laps are they again? Well, in the race in Zandvoort, there's 72 laps, but as of right now, because it's free practice, the drivers can do as many laps as they want, or as few laps as they want. Why is the radio not working? Blame the FIA? I don't know. It is what it is. Okay, so here we go then. Stroll through the first sector. What is his pace looking like? Looking pretty nice, actually, from Stroll so far. Goes a little deep into turn 1, but everything's still under control so far. First sector time at 24.8. That is 10 milliseconds slower than Bortoleto, but Bortoleto is on hard tyres. Admittedly, they are warmed up hard tyres, which definitely does help a lot. Yeah, the warmed up tyres is also going to be pretty handy, so maybe Stroll on his second lap will actually go a lot quicker because his tyres will have warmed up a bit, and maybe he'll have burnt off some fuel as well. Middle sector for Stroll, 25.3. That is around a tenth or so back. Yeah, a tenth or so back from Antonelli. And then we'll have him come across the line now. Get a nice little toe off Oliver Behrman as well. Yeah, Behrman actually has come out as well. So, as I was saying, it's good for these rookies to come out in these sort of changeable conditions. And yeah, Behrman's out. Stroll across the line up in first position, clearly where he deserves to be. The GOAT himself is 1.5 tenths ahead of Gabriel Bortoleto. All right, folks, these blue lines here, this means the drivers have just come out of the pit lane, and this blue line here and the third sector means they're coming into the pit lane. So, you know, Hadjar did a lap where he came out of the pits, drove around for the first 3 sectors, and then came immediately back in. Yeah, that's pretty much what that is. And this is this green line here is the DRS zone, this purple dot is the speed trap, this red line is the start of sector, well, the end of sector 1, this is the end of sector 2, and these green dots here are the DRS detection points for the next DRS zone. So there's a DRS detection point just here in the entry to turn number 10, and then that gives you DRS for the next straight. Alright, Kimi Antonelli is pushing nice and hard here on a set of medium tyres. Purple first sector, purple second sector. Let's see what he can do. And Alonso as well. Alonso goes purple in the first sector. Of course, he's on a set of soft tyres, so you would sort of expect that. But yeah, he's 2/10 quicker than Antonelli, in fact, in the first sector. Very nice from Fernando Alonso. Antonelli up to the top of the time. 6/10 clear of Lance Stroll. Good job from the rookie. Ooh, a little bit of a snap of the rear end for Fernando Alonso as he makes his way through turn 9 and 10. Onto the straight he goes now, and he is second fastest in the second sector. 2 milliseconds slower than Antonelli in the tight, technical, twisty part of the lap. Now he's got the power-related part of the lap. It's just, you know, one chicane and then foot flat to the floor, to the line. What can Fernando Alonso do on a set of soft tyres? It is first position by 1/10 of a second. Very nicely done. Aota Kiwi, thanks for becoming a channel member, really is appreciated. And yeah, if any of you folks do want to support the channel, I think it's €1 or £1 or $1 a month to become a channel member. You get access to the Discord, and, you know, you can chat with me directly if you want. But yeah, it goes a long way to helping out the channel. So thank you very much, Aota Kimi. Not Kimi, Kiwi. And yeah, really is appreciated, buddy. L-Plan indeed. Fernando Alonso up there in first position, but now the big guns are coming out. Max Verstappen, Lando Norris, Oscar Piastri out onto the circuit, and they're out on soft tyres as well. Verstappen's out on mediums, but the McLarens are out on softs. Let's see what the lap times are going to look like. Will you be streaming during quali? Indeed I will, folks. Indeed I will be streaming for qualifying. Also, if you haven't hit the like button, be sure to do so. It really does help out the channel and the YouTube algorithm. Okie dokes, 40 minutes left on the clock. Lando Norris purple in the first sector. Some nice pace there in his McLaren so far. Let's see how much quicker he goes than Fernando Alonso. In the first sector, though, he is, what, about 30 milliseconds or so quicker than Alonso. Here he comes now across the middle sector line. What's it going to be for Norris? He goes about a tenth or so quicker in the middle sector than Alonso. And is Alonso going to give a toe to Norris as he heads towards the start-finish straight? No, he's not. Alonso gets out of the way. And here comes Norris then. In that McLaren, the power that hasn't really been turned up that much. As you can see there, Stroll quickest through the speed traps, 326 Ks for him. Oh my God, Norris, 8/10 clear. Wow. Really, really good lap from him. Yeah, wow. We'll see what Piastri can do. Hadjar improves up into 4th, but he's still a second and a half back from Norris. Piastri starts his flying lap now. Hamilton goes 5th fastest in the middle sector. Not blisteringly quick from the Ferrari, but he is on the medium tyres. Charles Leclerc across the line, 8th place for him. We'll see what Hamilton can do. What do the yellow and the blue things mean? Essentially, this is sort of just telling you whether drivers are going slowly or quickly. Basically, these would be purple here for Piastri because he's gone quickest out of everyone in these little sectors of the circuit. So yellow means slower than personal best, blue means going in or out of the pit lane, and then green is personal best, and purple is quickest out of everyone. For whatever reason, the colours aren't working here. You know, the FIA is just messing everything up, so not very convenient. But Piastri second fastest in the second sector, and he is not too far behind Lando Norris by the looks of it. Verstappen also reasonably quick in the first sector, not so much in the middle, but across the line he comes. What can Verstappen do? It is second place. He is 3/4 of a second back. However, he is on those medium tyres, which are around half a second slower. So, Yeah, there's still hope. There's still hope here, ladies and gents. And Oscar Piastri across the line. That is second position for him. He is 71 milliseconds back from his teammate. Very, very close. And it's anyone's game for pole position. Stroll across the line, sixth position for him. He is half a second back from Fernando Alonso. That's sort of what I expect to see, really. Alonso at a tight, technical, twisty circuit is doing brilliantly. Stroll having some time keeping up with him. Okay. Where can I watch the live footage with a VPN? What you've got to do is join an Austrian VPN server and then search ORF. So you can get Surfshark VPN using the link in the description. It's $2 a month. And then you join an Austrian VPN server, and then you go onto Google, you search ORF, and then you enjoy. So yeah, go ahead and check it out, folks. It's pretty nice. Okay. Let me close that. And while we're here waiting, I'll take you through an onboard lap of the circuit as well, because not too much action going on currently. Some flying laps are taking place, but yeah. So here you are, you come through turn number 13 and you just want to get a good run onto 14 really. You've got quite a long straight here. The straight itself isn't so long, but you're flat for quite a while because you're flat from the exit of 13 pretty much. And then blasting down the straight, DRS open 8th gear and braking at the 80 meter mark here. You can miss the apex a little bit. The apex isn't really the big issue at turn number 1. It's carrying the speed through because then that continues on through turns number 2 and 3. Then you take a very wide line at turn number 3 because you can carry so much more speed that way. Then you continue on through 4, 5 and 6. Little kinks in the road, not really an issue. Russell third fastest in the middle sector, very nicely done from him. And then you go through turn number 7, a little tap of the brakes, flick the car in. Same thing for 8. Then turn number 9 here, braking, steering. Got to be super duper careful not to lock up here. Take a wide entry, get a nice exit. Same thing for turn number 10. You really need a good exit. There's a long straight coming up and very, very vital that your traction is as good as possible. Russell 6th position, Leclerc 7th position, looking good there, but their gaps are so far off the McLarens. You make your way through 11 and 12. Same thing. You got to compromise your entry into 11 to get a good entry into 12, and then yeah, same thing. Just smooth exit for 13 and 14 and hug the inside line. Find the line with the least possible bumps because that'll give you more top speed, less scraping of the floor on the ground, and across the line. And that is a lap of Zandvoort, ladies and gents. Yeah. All right. Yeah. 7th position there for Charles Leclerc, but he's a full second back. Hamilton also is just puts himself up into 7th position. He goes half a tenth quicker than Charles Leclerc. So Hamilton actually competing with Charles Leclerc quite well this Grand Prix, or this weekend so far. Hasn't been too far off. And yeah, it's been a while since we've seen this, but this is the first time now that we've that's happened in quite a while. But we've got the two McLarens up in 1st and 2nd. We've got Antonelli and Russell 5th and 6th, Hamilton and Leclerc 7th and 8th. You know, the two teams, the two drivers from the same team next to each other, and that typically is representing the maximum possible pace that you can extract from a car. And yeah, Antonelli and Russell have set the exact same lap time. I just missed out on that. But wait, Stroll has improved on his second lap, third lap on those tyres, and he goes very close to Fernando Alonso. It genuinely looks like the Aston Martins are the second fastest car or the third fastest car this weekend, because Verstappen's lap, remember, was on a set of medium tyres. Once he puts on a set of softs, he will be able to compete with the McLarens, I think. But if we just put that aside, Aston Martins are up there. Isaac Hadjar's up there. Oh my goodness me. The Racing Bulls, again, quicker than the Red Bulls. Am I surprised? Not really. How is Isaac Hadjar doing this? He is at danger of being promoted to the Red Bull team, and that is career-ending catastrophe, really. So he's got to be careful. Yeah, but when you see two drivers together next to each other, two drivers from the same team together, that typically means that they've extracted as much performance as the car has to offer. And yeah, you can see that from the Aston Martins, you can see that from the McLarens, from the Mercedes and from the Ferraris. But you do have to remember the Mercedes as well, they were also on medium tyres, so they've still got some more pace and some areas to improve, I think. Unless Russell did set his lap on softs, I can't remember because I don't think I was paying attention. So if anyone does remember, did Russell and Antonelli set their laps on softs, or did they set them on mediums? Yeah, let me know. Yeah, Verstappen stabbing away at the steering wheel, the car not doing exactly what he wants it to do, and Verstappen still, though, is improving on this lap. The car a little bit lighter with a little bit less fuel, and let's see what he can do. And Leclerc's up into fourth. Not too shabby from Charles Leclerc. Improves on his second lap after those tyres warmed up a little bit. Verstappen again pips ahead of Leclerc. Third position for him. He's only 4/10 back, and those medium tyres are half a second quicker. So theoretically, if you take into account the tyre difference, Max Verstappen would be quickest on the circuit right now. Red Bull has a thinner rear wing? Well, clearly it does. Look at that top speed, ladies and gentlemen. 329 kilometers per hour for Max Verstappen. What did I say was going to happen? Verstappen is going to go for a full qualifying setup, and he's going to sacrifice his entire race performance, and he's just going to go maximum attack on qualifying, and just hope to defend for the entire race, pretty much. Oh my god, this is a pretty big donation. Thank you very much for the donation, Alpha Cry. Guys, try out Valhalla. It's a new mega play to earn by Floki Crypto. Okay. I think that's an advert, but I appreciate the donation. Thank you very much. Yeah, very odd, but appreciate it, buddy. I'm pretty sure that's a scam advert though, like some crypto thing. That's typically bad news for when it comes to scams. We've got Behrman up into fourth position. Very, very nicely done. Yeah, it's a Dubai crypto ad. Well, I guess thanks for the donation regardless. You can carry on donating if you want, I guess. But yeah, I didn't really endorse this crypto stuff. It's pretty much as bad as gambling, to be honest. And the amount of I actually had a gambling company offer me to do like F1 advertising. I think it was Bet US. And the amount of money that they offer for just signing one person up to Bet US is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I guess I could tell you guys, but if one person signed up to Bet US, I think they would pay me like $150 or something, which is kind of ridiculous, really. But that's how bad the gambling companies are. They know that they're just gonna, they know that you're gonna lose money, so they can just afford to pay me that much. But yeah, I said no to them, obviously. Yeah. All right, we got Piastri purple in the first sector, and he looks to be improving, actually. So let's see how much quicker does he go than Lewis Hamilton, because Hamilton's up there in third, Behrman's up there in fourth. And Norris is gaining the majority of his time on Piastri in the slow speed corners. Piastri gaining majority of it back on the straights and in the high speed stuff. So slightly different setups for the two McLaren drivers, I think, because half a second in slow speed corners is quite a big gap. Alpha Cry, no scam, buddy. It's been around for 4 years. They're launching an ETF soon. Well, thank you very much. Not a scam here, but I love watching you stream. Much love from Australia. Well, thank you very much, Andrew. Really is appreciated. Yeah, I mean, it must be pretty. I don't know what time it is in Australia, but it must be pretty late. No, Piastri improves, goes a 10.5 clear of Lando Norris, and the gap has been extended up to Hamilton to a half a second. Verstappen, the gap to Verstappen is now 0.6 of a second. Quite big, quite big. Yeah. Oh, it's okay. It's only 8 p.m. in Australia. Okay, not too bad. I think quali might be a little bit later then. Quali is what, in 3 hours' time, so 8 p.m. to 11. Actually, still not too bad for Australia's time. Quite a lot of the races are in pretty bad time zones for Australia. But on the east coast of Australia. Okay, cool. All right. Yeah, the drivers coming into the pits now. They have done their quali sim sort of earlier on in the session, actually, by the looks of it, because the track temperature was a little lower, and that's when the soft tyres perform a little better. So, yeah, I think we might be getting long runs in the second half of this session. 10 p.m. in New Zealand. Okay, still not too bad really. 10 p.m. And then quali will start at 1 a.m. and end at 2. That might be a little late, depending on. Well, for Sunday it might be a little late because then you'll have work Monday morning. But I still think Australia and New Zealand are a pretty cool place to live, especially compared to the UK, because the UK it's just raining all the time here. But I shall stop talking about random stuff. We'll get back to the Formula One. We've got Liam Lawson up into 7th position. Very nice job done from him, and he's on the medium tyres as well. So he's actually a 10th behind Hadjar, but he did his lap on medium tyres. So pretty solid lap from him. Tsunoda 13th place. He is around 6/10 back from Verstappen, kind of to be expected really. Antonelli as well now a 10th and a half back from Russell. So yeah, that gap sort of extending out a little bit from what we expect, really. We expect Russell to be a little bit further ahead because of just he's driven around this circuit more. I don't think Antonelli's had much experience in driving the Zandvoort circuit in real life. I don't think Formula 2 race here, so, and neither do Formula 3. So yeah, Antonelli will have been his first time maybe at this circuit in real life. He will have, of course, done a lot of racing on iRacing and on the simulator and stuff, but that's a little bit different. Will it rain for quali in the race? It will rain for I think it will rain for the race, but for qualifying, it's looking unlikely. Albon up into 9th. The Williams looking pretty handy around here, actually. All right. Oz is the best place indeed. I mean, it's just always sunny, no? Well, I've been told that's incorrect, but it seems like it's always sunny at least. Liam has a nice gap for this lap. Yeah, it's a pretty good lap there from Liam, actually. Good to see him improve, and he should be competing there with Hadjar, really. I mean, I'll have a look at the Constructors' Championship, the Drivers' Championship, but I don't think Liam Lawson is all that far off Isaac Hadjar. But honestly, it's a little bit difficult to keep on track of all of this stuff. Oh, Sainz up into 5th position on medium tyres as well. So it's a little bit difficult to figure out what's going on here with representative pace. Some drivers are definitely on low fuel mode. Some low fuel running. Some drivers have definitely turned up their engine mode more. And Verstappen most certainly. Look at Norris slowest through the speed trap, 319 Ks, and Verstappen quickest, 329 Ks. That's a 10 km/h difference. Okay. Let's just imagine it continues like this, right? Verstappen gets pole position because he has a qualifying setup. Lando Norris gets second place because the McLaren's quick, but he hasn't got a quali setup. So what's going to happen then is that Norris is going to be 10 km/h slower down the straights than Verstappen is. With the DRS, maybe that 10 km/h difference goes to 0. So he's got the same pace as Verstappen, but then he's not going to be able to overtake him. So is that the correct choice there from Lando Norris, to go for a high downforce setup, to be quick in the low speed corners, quicker than your teammate by about 0.3 of a second through the low speed corners, but then sacrificing all of your top speed? He's sort of Norris is basically relying on the fact that he's going to get pole position and also drive off into the sunset, because if he gets pole position, but then there's Verstappen's behind him, and he's got DRS. Verstappen's just going to breeze past him down the straight, and Norris is going to have no chance to defend. So I think McLaren are going to have a think about their setup. Of course, they'll turn up the engine mode a little bit, but Red Bull will do the same thing. So that sort of cancels itself out. Russell improves up into 3rd position on a set of 8-lap-old medium tyres. So yeah, the Mercedes have got some pace, especially George Russell. Russell, his best result here in Zandvoort was actually 2nd place in 2022. We'll see if he can replicate that success. Lewis is currently in 4th. He's not too far back off the McLarens. Yeah, the wind 13.3 km/h, but this is the thing. I think now the drivers are all taking this into account, taking the wind into account, trying to extract as much pace as they can, because We'll go for an onboard lap here while there's no team radios anyway. So, oh wait, no, this is wrong. Onboard lap. Yeah, so here you are coming out the final corner. We have got the main straight here. You're going up into turn number 1 here, and you reach your minimum apex speed. What's this? 70 miles per hour, I think? 70 miles per hour. So around 100 Ks, 120 Ks. And if you've got an additional wind factor of 20 kilometers per hour, or 13 kilometers per hour, 15 kilometers per hour, that gives you, say, a 10% boost in airspeed or so, 10% boost in airspeed, and that gives you a 20% increase in grip. 20% increase in downforce, 20% increase in grip. So the drivers can genuinely push so much harder if they have got the wind blowing in their direction in a slow speed corner. So you make your way through turn number 1 and you head towards turn number 2 here, and the wind is blowing head on directly into you, gives you 20% more downforce. You step onto the power so much earlier, and you can extract so much more pace going into the next couple of corners. So the driver's really being wary of this. I think Alonso was only the really one that was doing it yesterday, trying to get as much pace as he could out the wind. And now I think all of the other drivers have caught on because they saw how much pace that Alonso could get out the wind. Williams are doing pretty well. Ferrari, also Leclerc, improves up into 5th position on 10-lap-old mediums as well. So it'll be good to see when the drivers do come out on fresh sets of softs here, because we've had quite a mix of quick running. The sun has come out. The track temperature is up to 24 degrees now. So the soft tyres might start overheating towards the end of the lap, but they should be fine still. So yeah, once we get fresh soft tyres, we'll get really representative looks of what we're sort of going to be looking for at quali. Because Alonso and Stroll's laps, they are down in 13th and 14th position, but the track had not rubbed in. I would again like to point out there has been loads of track evolution in this session itself. Why is that? Because the rain fell just an hour or two ago. That's washed all of the rubber off the circuit, and we're starting from scratch again. So the circuit's getting rubbered in a lot right now, and that means the circuit's improving a lot right now. So Alonso and Stroll, if they do the same laps again, they're probably going to go up into 3rd and 4th position, or maybe 5th and 6th. But same thing's going to happen in quali as well. We're going to have to be very, very wary and careful of who goes out right at the end, because they're going to have significantly better track conditions. All right. The Red Bull is slow, man. What is this? Well, Max is still on medium tyres. Wait for him to bolt on a set of softs, and we'll see what happens. But he's having some issues here. The car understeering like an absolute boat, really. Like, he turns the car in, and the car just doesn't turn. It just goes straight on. Like, it is a bit abysmal, to be honest, what's going on with Max. And then he gets caught up with traffic as well. So yeah, the final sector, McLarens aren't quick, but I have a feeling that might be partially sandbagging, if I'm going to be honest with you folks here. The McLaren, they're not on the screen right now. They are 3rd and 4th fastest in the 3rd sector, so they're losing a little bit of time in the 3rd sector. But I also think that's down to the fact that they're using a lower engine mode. A lower engine mode will result in obviously less speed down the straights, and turn number 13 and 14 is quite the big straight. Turn 13, 14, all the way down to the start-finish straight. You do need a lot of power, and I think McLaren are running lower engine modes because they want to preserve that engine. As I've said earlier on in the season, the Mercedes engines and the Mercedes power units have been having some issues as of late. Williams have had them, Mercedes Works teams have had them, Aston Martin have had them, McLaren not so much. Is that because they're running lower engine modes in practice? Maybe it is. Or maybe it's a ticking time bomb and they're going to have some issues as well. I think McLaren can go 108.5. Well, let's see. Piastri's did a 110.1. He did a very similar lap time yesterday in FP1 as well. So now it's a question of how much does the circuit... Well, the circuit's pretty much dry at this point. Now it's the question of how much does the circuit improve between now and Q3. We've got 17 minutes left of running now, and then, of course, we'll have the rest of qualifying as well. The age table is how old the tyres are. It's definitely not how old the drivers are, because Oscar Piastri is not 6 years old. Yeah. I know it's only FP3, but my best lap on F124 is still faster than Piastri here. Yeah, that's the thing. It's the wet conditions, or the rain that fell a little bit earlier in the day, have definitely not helped with that. If it hadn't fell, we probably would have been down in the 1 minute 9s or 1 minute 9.5 or something. Yeah. All right, I shall take you through an onboard lap of the circuit while we're here waiting. Charles Leclerc is again on a set of medium tyres, doing another run before he comes into the pits. Okay, where is the onboard? Here we go. So here you are coming out of the final corner here. And, you know, you got all the Dutch fans here on the left-hand side. Or are they the Dutch fans or are they the McLaren fans? We don't know. But they're wearing orange. And you go into turn number 1 here. At the 50-meter board, you're slamming on the brakes here. You brake the first couple of meters in a straight line. First around 30 meters or so. And then you back off the brake pressure a little bit, start steering the car through the corner. As soon as you hit your minimum speed, off the brakes, onto the power. Oh, Antonelli's got some issues with the downshifting paddle. Don't know what's going on there, but Max was also having some gearbox issues earlier in the season, and now Antonelli is having some as well. You come through turn number 2, car goes a little bit light, outside line for turn number 3 to carry as much speed as you possibly can. The camber of the circuit really does help you out. Huge banking there at turn 3, and you can it's sort of like a centrifuge. It just spins the car around, and you keep your foot flat to the floor. Same thing for 7. Little bit off the throttle and flick the car in. You know, in qualifying spec, off the throttle and flick the car in. During the race, you will have to tap the brakes to reduce the understeer and sort of transfer the load forward onto the tyres. Turn number 10 here, go deep into the corner, get a very good exit, straight line the exit as much as you possibly can because you want as much traction as you can get your hands on. Lando Norris currently here, starting his flying lap, and we'll see what he can do. Through 11, you compromise your exit for 11 here. You don't run all the way to the left. Let me just rewind a couple of seconds. So you're coming down the straight here. You got DRS open. You can make an overtake into this corner as well if you get a good exit. But you start hitting the brakes at the curb here, and then as you get to this apex, you don't actually want to run all the way over to the left-hand side. You keep the steering lock on, and you miss this curb on the left-hand side totally because you need to get a good run through turn number 12, and once you do that, you get onto the power smoothly, and it's just another tap of the brakes, flick the car to the right for turn number 13, and onto the power you go. And Norris purple in the first sector. Oh no, I have a feeling that we are going to see a huge gap here. Norris goes half a second quicker in the first sector with a fresh set of soft tyres. This is incredible so far. Let's see if he can hold it together for the second half of this lap. In the middle sector, he gains 0.3 of a second on his teammate's sector time. And let's see what he does as he comes out of the final corner. Here comes Lando Norris. What's it going to be? 1.1 seconds. He's already into the 1 minute 8. We are in FP3. We've just had rain 2 hours ago, but we're still within 1/10 of the lap record. He's already beaten last year's pole time. And yeah, well, what I can tell you, the lap record is most certainly getting broken here. Wow. Because, well, yeah, it's FP3 or a 10th off. Let's see what Piastri can do. He's on a fresh set of tyres. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is what we've been waiting for. The final 13 minutes of of FP3. And we're getting the qualifying simulations finally coming in. Here comes Verstappen. Here comes Piastri. What can they do? All right. Also, folks, if you haven't hit the like button, be sure to do so. It really does help out the channel. If you haven't subscribed as well, that'd be fantastic. Hopefully, we can hit 190k subs today. And yeah, bring us closer to 200k, the all-important 200. But look at Verstappen's middle sector. Look at these purple mini sectors here. Verstappen is setting the track alight. No traffic for him, and Piastri as well is pushing nice and hard. Piastri's first sector, he is a 10th slower in the first sector compared to Lando Norris. Ooh. Not looking so good so far in the first sector, but Piastri does have his strengths in the middle sector. He's running a little bit less downforce, and he might be able to pull something special through the middle sector. Let's see what he can do. Verstappen now through turn number 13 and 14. What can he do? His foot is flat to the floor. The car looking nice and smooth, gripping up a little bit better than it was earlier on in the session. He is, oh my god, a second off the pace. What? 1 full second. That is 1,000 milliseconds. Max Verstappen is slower than Lando Norris by. Wow, not even close. Here comes Piastri. Can he fight Norris? He's a quarter of a second back. He's going to need something special for quali because that quarter of a second of gap is huge. Sonoda is 4th position, and he goes what 4 tenths back from Max Verstappen. Here comes George Russell. Then is he starting a lap? Russell, no, he's finishing a lap. Third place for him. He pips Max Verstappen. He's 8 tenths back from Lando Norris. Hulkenberg up into 7th position, but still 1.6 seconds back. That gap is enormous. The Hamilton and Leclerc still out on the medium tyres. Come on, Ferrari. Give us a set of softs. Stroll's on a set of softs, and so is Fernando Alonso. Let's see what he can do. Stroll, 5th place for him. Alonso, I think, had to back out of his lap. Yeah, Alonso backed out of his lap, made a mistake going on at the first corner. So yeah, backed out of that one, but he had a purple first mini sector, or second mini sector. So, yeah, Alonso looks good for him. If Stroll can get up into 5th, then maybe Alonso can get up into 3rd. Ocon, 10th place for him. Behrman up into 8th. Great job from the rookie outperforming Esteban Ocon so far. Okay, here comes Isaac Hadjar then. What can he do in the Racing Bull, the number 1 Red Bull team by the looks of it? Yeah, he gets ahead of Yuki Tsunoda, but he's still 2 tenths back from Max Verstappen. He's only 2 tenths back from Max Verstappen, which is dangerously close, really. The Racing Bull should be at least 4 tenths slower than the Red Bull. And yeah, well, that's mainly the Red Bull's fault. They need to be quicker. All right, Fernando Alonso, is he going to start his flying lap now? Yes, he is. His first sector was looking pretty good so far. Pretty good first sector. It's a 24.0, so that's still half a second. Wait, he's half a second slower than Norris in the first sector? I mean, I'm sure Verstappen was also half a second slower, but that is huge. Okay, I mean, the McLaren, okay, it's a little bit odd. Their car is scraping across the ground a lot. They may have a similar sort of situation to what Ferrari did in Hungary, where their car was too close to the ground, and they have to lift it up a little bit to make sure that they don't get disqualified, because there was a lot of scraping from Piastri and Norris on their flying lap. So that might change, and maybe they'll raise the ride height a little bit and lose a bit of performance. At least, you know, for the Alonso's lap gets ruined by, who's that, Bortoletto? Someone was trying to go into the pits, and Alonso, huge lockup. That was a pretty big incident. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a penalty or something for that, because that could have been pretty nasty for Alonso. I don't know who it was, but very close to crashing going into the pits there. But he continues on through the pit lane. Right. I think it was Bortoletto, but I'm not sure. Bortoletto up into 8th. I don't know really what happened. Oh, it was a Hulkenberg, was it? So here we've got the replay. Yeah? Fernando Alonso coming down the main straight. Oh no, he goes into the pit. Oh, he sort of gets sandwiched. I don't know. Was it the Mercs? Was Alonso planning to go onto the pits? Oh, Alonso was planning to overtake on the right-hand side. Hey, they don't look in their mirrors. Yeah, well, not surprising, really. Sainz up into 4th position. Oh, my goodness me. But he's still a second back, but regardless. It was Russell. Alonso was trying to overtake on the right-hand side, and I think Russell was also trying to go into the pits to the right-hand side. So they ended up sort of like nearly squeezing into each other. Not ideal. Smooth operator, though, very nice lap indeed, and 4th position for the smooth operator. Lawson improves up into 8th position. He's 1 tenth back from Isaac Hadjar, not too shabby from the Kiwi. Also, I'd like to just say I missed this a little bit earlier, but thanks, Andrew, for joining the channel membership as well. Thanks for the donation. Thanks for joining channel membership. Big help there, buddy. And yeah, I guess also thank you to Alpha Cry for this donation. Try out Valhalla. It's a new Mega Play game. Interesting. Anyway, yeah, that incident between Russell and Alonso has been noted, so we'll see what happens there. Tsunoda has been gapped quite badly. 4 tenths of a second between himself and Verstappen, and you've got Stroll, Hadjar, and Lawson fitting in amongst themselves, and Hadjar and Lawson ahead of Tsunoda. The thing is, though, I'm sure even Hadjar and Lawson know themselves, especially Lawson, knows that if he gets into the Red Bull car, that he really wouldn't be able to do that much better. Like, he himself was in the Red Bull car and couldn't deliver. Tsunoda is barely delivering. I think all these teams know that that you really can't the second Red Bull seat is just a bit cursed, and that car's a bit undrivable. Lawson comes over the radio, says, check the floor. I don't know what that was. Lando's most definitely taking pole. Well, I guess we shall see. We shall see who takes pole position. Will it be Norris or will it be Piastri? Maybe Russell, if Mr. Saturday can put together something special. Verstappen, even with a qualifying-oriented setup, is quite a bit off. Maybe he's put on a bit more fuel in his car. We don't know for sure, but yeah, I guess we'll see. And Leclerc stabbing away at the steering wheel, still suffering from a bit of understeer, not getting onto the power as early as he would have liked. But he's on a fresh set of soft tyres, which is what we wanted. Ferrari have listened to us. And Leclerc is 3/4 of a second back as he crosses the second sector line. It's just the first sector. Norris and Piastri are just ridiculously fast in the first sector. And I don't know what they're doing, but the pace is outrageous. Like, how are they getting half a second in just the first sector? The first sector is like 1.5 kilometers at best. Yeah. Are the transcripts not working? No, unfortunately they're not. I've done a few refreshes and stuff, but seems like the FIA are having quite a bit of issues today. The issue between Russell and Alonso will be investigated after the session. Okay, 6 minutes left on the clock, and Leclerc up into 6th position on his lap. Again, a full second back from the McLarens. McLaren's dominance, crazy. Absolutely wild. It's their suspension. McLaren's suspension is good enough. I don't know. Maybe their car is running a little bit too close to the ground. But, they haven't been disqualified so far this season for plank wear. But they might also realise that the plank is worn out too much at the end of the session, because typically the teams don't lift the cars up and look underneath during the session itself. They'll just look at the end of the session and take that into account when making setup changes. So they'll have a look at the end of the session, and if they find out that there's too much plank wear, then they will have to raise the ride height, and then we'll get closer competition. Exactly, when it was Max, it was the driver, but with Lando, it was the car. What a bunch of tools. I don't know if you're referring to me or not, but no, Lando definitely is doing a very, very good job, but it is also the fastest car on the grid, in the same way that Max's car was the fastest car on the grid, but he was doing a pretty good job to outperform Sergio Perez every single weekend and deliver consistently top of the podium performances, So yeah, Norris is no doubt very quick driver, but he also does have the quickest car, like Verstappen did in 2023. Yeah. But I think what we all really want to see, is a Fernando Alonso pole position. Even if you're a Norris fan, even if you're a Piastri fan, Fernando Alonso pole would be something special, wouldn't it? What would happen to the McLaren guys if someone tied the World Drivers' Championship at the end? Surely the FIA has to do something to stop that. Well, if the drivers tie on points at the end of the season, the rule is whichever driver has got more race wins will get the championship. And if both the drivers have the same number of race wins, then it's the driver that has the more number of second positions. And then if they both have the same number of second places, then it's whichever driver has the most third positions. So that's sort of how they do it. But I would kind of like to see, just imagine, right, like if the two drivers tie on points at the end of the season, have just one race just for those two drivers, that would be pretty cool. Like, we finished the race at Abu Dhabi and both drivers are tied on points. Then they hire out the Interlagos circuit again, right? Interlagos, great circuit, great place to have a championship decider. And it's just Lando Norris versus Oscar Piastri head to head. They get 3 hours of practice, 1 hour of qualifying, and then the race. That would be pretty cool. But I don't really think that's going to happen. It's quite unlikely that people are going to tie on points. 10-lap race. Yeah, just a 1 versus 1. And you could, in fact, do qualifying. In fact, line them up on the start line alongside each other. Normally how pole position is about 3 meters or so ahead of second place. Just put them alongside each other. There's only 2 drivers. All right, but folks, we have got 2 minutes left on the clock now, and as you can see, everyone has done their quickest laps on fresh sets of soft tyres. Now they're doing their second sets of runs and stuff like that, but I'll run through the orders. For anyone listening to this like a radio broadcast, we've got Lando Norris first place, Piastri second, who is a quarter of a second back from his teammate. Then Russell, who is 8/10 back from Norris, which is a huge gap. He's in third. Sainz fourth. Verstappen fifth. Leclerc sixth. Albon seventh. So Williams doing quite well here. Stroll eighth. Hadjar ninth. Alonso 10th. Lawson 11th. Tsunoda 12th. Bortoletto 13th. Hamilton 14th. Quite a bit of improvement for him to do. You know, earlier on in the session, he wasn't too far back off Charles Leclerc, but now he is quite a ways back. Now we've got Behrman, who is in 15th, Hülkenberg 16th, Antonelli 17th. He's also got a lot of work to do. Russell is nearly a second faster than him. So, in fact, Antonelli's on a lap now, so we'll see what he can do from there. And Gasly's in 19th, and Colapinto is in 20th. Folks, quali is in 2.5 hours. Wait, Hamilton hasn't stopped. Hamilton's GPS is glitching out a little bit. But yes, qualifying is in 2.5 hours time. As you can see there on the middle right of the screen. I will be commentating for qualifying as well, so look forward to seeing you guys there. But we're going to have a few more quick laps coming in. Piastri there at purple in the final sector. Oh, let's have a look at this theoretical best lap times, actually. So, if all of the drivers do their theoretical best lap times, Lando Norris is, in theory, still ahead of Piastri, however, not by 2.5 tenths. He's only ahead by 1/10 of a second. So, if Piastri can hook together everything perfectly, he'll be within 1/10 of Norris. But of course, there's still the rest of Q3 to go. A lot more Trek Evolution left to go, and a lot more lap time to exploit. Albon and Russell out on medium tyres. Leclerc improves in the first sector, third sector, not in the middle sector though, and he is in 6th position so far. Okay. Yeah. Also, folks, if you haven't subscribed, be sure to do so. Hopefully we can hit 190k subs today. That would be pretty nice. We have got 7 seconds left on the clock, and by the looks of it, nobody is doing any sort of flying lap. Lawson improves, I think. Oh no, he doesn't improve. Slower than his personal best. Checkered flag is waving. Oscar Piastri is going to be the first one to take the checkered flag. Is that a sign of things to come? I don't know. Fernando Alonso sat in the pit lane. Is that an issue with his Aston Martin? I'm not 100% sure. Stroll, purple final mini sector actually in the middle sector. So still some drivers pushing, still some more pace to extract. And we have got... Yeah, Piastri first to take the flag, and that is about it really, folks. Hopefully the radio transcripts will be working by the time we get to the end, by the time we get to qualifying. That'll be useful, especially for all the traffic call-outs and stuff like that. Stroll comes over the radio saying this guy is a complete idiot, and the engineer comes over the radio saying agree. Yeah, I don't know, Antonelli was having some issues with traffic. And yeah, 20 cars and a 4.3 kilometer circuit, that lends itself to quite a bit of traffic chaos. Okie dokes then. So that is it, folks. Yeah, everyone's just coming to the grid now to do their practice starts. But thank you for tuning in. I'm going to end the stream now. I'll take you over to the qualifying stream. If you could just hit the like button on the quali stream and the reminder button as well, it really does help out YouTube algorithm. It just goes a long way to making the channel where it is now. You know, all of these subscribers and all of the views. It was all down to the people that hit the like button before the stream starts and the reminder button as well. But apart from that, that is all from me. It's been a pleasure commentating to you folks. I'll be back in 2 hours time for the qualifying stream. I'll start 30 minutes early as is expected. And that's about it. So have a wonderful morning, day, afternoon, evening or night, depending on where you are in the world. And I shall see you in 2 hours time for a exciting qualifying session, even though it may just be a head-to-head between Norris and Piastri for pole position. Alrighty then, bye-bye.